Welcome. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make an animated icon like this one. Go ahead and open up Photoshop and open a picture that you would like to use. Today I'm going to be using a picture of my daughter. Go ahead and make a copy of your background layer. I never like to work on the original layer just in case I damage it or do something stupid and can't ever get that image back. So make a copy. Always make a copy. Next I'm going to do is go ahead and erase all this background. I don't want that in my image. You're more than welcome to keep your background if you like it, and you'll just put your animation on top of it. But in this case I don't want it, so I'm going to erase it. I've already done that before I started this tutorial to cut down the time. As you can see, I already cut it out. Of course, it's the worst cutout I've ever done, just for time's sake. Next thing you want to do is make this ready to be put into a 100 by 100 pixel icon. By doing that, I'm going to change the image size. I hit Control-Alt-I for image, and you want your biggest pixel to be 100. So the height is the biggest. I'm going to change that to 100 and hit OK. Notice how it makes my image smaller. Next thing I'm going to do is make a new document the size of our icon, which is 100 by 100. So hit Control N, and I'm going to do 100 by 100 and keep the resolution at 72. There's no need to go above that unless you plan on printing. All computer screens have a resolution of 72 pixels per inch, so just leave that alone. Hit OK. And here's my new. I'm going to drop my daughter into the new layer, so I'm going to go over here to layers and pull her over. And I'm going to realign her back to the corner because I don't like rough edges. I see so many people make their icons where part of the picture is cut off and it looks horrible. So if you have a portion of your picture cut off, please put it up to where it's supposed to be. So since she has a rough edge on her side and the top, I put her up in the top left hand corner. I'm just going to minimize this because I don't need it right now, but I don't want to get rid of it quite yet because if I do make a mistake and need to go back to it, I still have it open. So just hit minimize. I'm going to fill the background with a color, and I chose a gray color that is that kind of matches her skin and the whole theme of the picture. Let's go ahead and hit your paint and fill that. Notice I still have some of those white areas where I did not erase very well. So hopefully your picture will look better than mine. Go ahead and make a new layer. This is the layer we're going to put our stars or whatever you have that you want to glow on, and I'm going to go to my brush tool, and this tutorial requires you to have some sort of brush that you plan on using. I'm going to use these little glitter stars that I have already, and on the first one I'm going to go ahead and I guess I better change this to white so that way it'll actually show up. Okay, and I want a little more stars than that. That looks about good. I'm going to change the opacity down because I don't want them that bright. That looks about good. Now I'm going to go ahead and copy that layer. And notice how they get brighter because the opacity is down, so it's shining through. And I'm going to go ahead and make one more layer, and that'll be the brightest one. I'm going to turn off those two layers that I just made. I'm going to go to Window and Animation. Make sure that my animation panel is up, which mine is. And I'm going to go ahead and move this, that way it's out of our way. So you can actually see my panel there. Okay. And notice how my first layer, or my first frame, is going to have those two pictures open. I'm going to hit copy. I want layer 2. And notice how it gets brighter. and we're going to hit one more frame, and I'm going to have it to the brightest, and then I'm going to hit another frame and delete that one because I want my stars to fade in and fade out. I don't want them to just fade in and then completely go out because I think that looks horrible as well. I do not need to create another layer where I will turn this layer off right here, because this is what happens when I do that. Okay, I turn that one off, and now I have two of the same frames that will be playing one right after another, and notice there is no difference, so that will put a lag in your icon if you decided to do that, which I don't want, so I'm going to delete that layer. And you should have a looped icon, and if we hit play, that is what your icon will look like. Of course, you can make it more fancy by adding text or you know, a better background, but this was just for the animation tutorial part. Then I'm going to hit save for web and devices, and I'm going to change this to a GIF that allows us to make it animated. Always make sure you're working with 256 colors. That allows for your photo to be at the best quality. And I'm going to use selective for this one. The diffusion doesn't really matter at this point because it's a black and white photo. This will matter later on if you're using color photos. You can play with those, you know, on your own time. But for now, I'm just going to put no dither. And there's no transparencies, as if, let's say I didn't have a background, then I would have to have this checked because whatever this would be placed on, the background would show through, but I don't need that, so I'm going to uncheck that. And that gives me one more color that it'll show, and hit save. And you can go ahead and save this to wherever you want. I usually save to the desktop so it's easy for me to find. And I'm going to name this Sparkle Tutorial and hit enter. And there you go. I hope that helps.